Just around the first sphere, so that if everybody's in the first sphere, then there must be in the first sphere like many different little spheres.
Correct. There's gradients. There's, you could say that the first sphere is probably the biggest sphere in terms of depth, and the bottom of it is like severe hells, black, full of, the feeling is just of evil, or a constant evil. Very similar to if you walk to some places on earth where you walk into a dark location and you can feel just the evil being present there. Very similar to that. Millions of spirits there oftentimes. Usually those spirits are either people who have murdered or have been very sexually promiscuous all of their life. They're usually at the bottom of that hell. Most of them are in a very severely angry state and don't want to change. Very hard to educate them in that state. And really there's a lot of spirits around them waiting for them to change to help them, but they have to wait firstly for the person to have a realisation that they're actually done the wrong thing while on earth. So yeah, that's the bottom of it. And then from there, the top of the first sphere is called Summerland. And that's where most children who pass go actually. Even if the child's condition is lower than that, for the most part, if a child passes before 7 years of age, they will enter Summerland. And the reason why that is that it's particularly designed to help children to overcome the sin of their parents. And there are whole areas there where they're just only children who have arrived, who are helped by spirits from a higher condition to progress and get rid of that inherited sin. So that's the top of the first sphere, which actually looks better than Earth in terms of its surroundings. It looks more... If you think of the most beautiful place you can imagine on Earth, Summerland's more beautiful. And then the bottom of the first sphere is like the worst horrific conditions you could ever imagine. Aside, it's not burning, it's not like fire or any hellfire or anything like that, but the conditions are very terrible. They smell, they're dark, you can just feel the evil in the place with everyone. There's places where people are just locked up completely, like in an iced state, like where they don't feel emotion at all, and they're like ice, you know. And in fact, some of them actually live encased in ice until they break through those particular problems. So horrific conditions in the bottom of the hell. And then everywhere in between is like gradients. So you could say one of the things I like to say is hell exists. But I want to clarify hell exists as both a condition and a location. Right? A lot of people say, oh, it's just an emotional condition. Not true. It's there's actually a location. There's actually locations that you can visit, you know, where these people live. And everybody has a place of abode generally. And when I say a place of abode in the hells, it's not like a house or anything. It's usually like a shanty if it's in the middle of the hells. But you're going down deeper and deeper. People are packed together like sardines in some places where they can hardly move. It's very bad conditions. Yeah? So that's right at the bottom. But also hell exists because humans created it. God never created hell, actually. God created the laws that allow for its existence, but he didn't actually create the hells or the first sphere or the second sphere or the third or fourth or fifth spheres. He only created the sixth sphere and up, and people create everything else. And so all of the dark conditions of the hells were all created by the person's condition, particularly the condition they had while on Earth. Yeah. Does that make sense? If we go back behind and then across to this side.
And just behind you.
And if you got that mic there, Pierre, and just pass it back to Olga.
So would that mean that are there still souls in the first sphere which never made it out? Did anybody get stuck in the hells?
It's very hard to get stuck anywhere, actually, which
But by their own condition.
yeah, by design, it's very hard to get stuck because you're forced into having experiences. Like you've got to care for yourself, you've got to do things, you're forced to interact with people. You know, the way God's designed the whole system is that there's things that you're going to have to do to look after your life, and in the hells there's more things you have to do than in other places even, that to look after your life because it's not sort of very self-sustaining. So you've got to do things, you've got to work, there's a whole heap of things you've got to do in the hells. And as a result of that, you end up being forced into having interactions with others eventually. And eventually those interactions with others get you educated. And eventually you realise, oh, that person progressed and that person progressed. And my good friend, that I used to drink with on earth and get drunk with every night, he's progressed. How did they do it? You start having these sort of wonderings. And also there's a process of removing sin that happens as you feel the pain of your sin, which is a constant thing in hell. Eventually you exhaust your rage and you get to the point of grieving. And once you get to the point of grieving, you make progress. So you start working through your sin quite naturally. So I know people that are still there after 2,000 years, but that's pretty unusual. You've heard of Emperor Nero. Well, he was there for nearly 2,000 years. But he got out within 2,000 years. And if you think about his life on earth, he did a lot of damage. He was the leader of the Roman army, murdering and killing people. He was a terrible ruler. He was very corrupt internally, sexually corrupt, morally corrupt, violent. He also encouraged all the things like all of the gladiators in the arena and all these other very dark things that all began during that phase of the Roman Empire. He basically started a lot of them, and so he was a very, very evil, corrupt man. But it took him 2,000 years to get out of the hells because of the assistance that he got. Everyone who's in a higher condition is trying to assist them as well. So it's a very rare thing to last that long in the hells. Yeah. But I do know some that have been there for tens of thousands of years. But they were there from the period of life on Earth where humans went into a very bad decay and went into almost sort of ape-like conditions for a while, where their bodies got stunted, their intellectual facilities were badly damaged because of the emotions that they had, and some of those people are still there, but eventually everybody will get out of the hells. In fact, one of the reasons why 14 souls came was because we want to see the hells rolled up. We want to see them gone. And we know that they will be gone as soon as the last person exits them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but we should say that not just in the hells, but in other spheres of the spirit world, some people spend a lot of time in various locations because...
Yeah. Sometimes thousands of years.
And sometimes, or very often, it's because of their beliefs. So they...
Most often.
Yeah.
Because of their beliefs.
Well, always, really.
Yeah.
Any time we stagnate in life, it's because we're holding on to something that is false in our beliefs.
A false belief.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Yeah.